What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline Thoughts. I'm Gio Galvez, back with another week for college football. It's week 5, guys, so let's get right into it. So, a couple of things I want to talk about. Shouldn't this episode shouldn't be too long or take too much time, but we'll see how long it gets into it. Starting off, like I mentioned, week 5. We already get good full set steam. We already have some very important rankings in the AP poll. We already have some that are trying to they're already setting themselves up, and especially when it comes to college football playoffs. And this is the last year where it's only 4, so we're going to see which are the big 4 to make it. And as well as that, we're also going to see as the Pac-12 is disbanding. It is disbanded after this season. We're going to see who's in the running to get the last uh, Pac-12 championship. So let's get right into it. First, I want to start off by mentioning the new top 25 for the AP poll going into week 5. Week 4 just passed. We'll talk a bit about that. Just go into week 5 and see how this is going to go and mention, who are the top 25 and who are they going to play this week. So, number 1, Georgia's still number 1. They're 4-0 overall, 1-0 in the season. Michigan, number 2, stated 4-0, 1 in the season. Texas at number 3. I think this is very well. I know when I started the first episode for this college football, I didn't think Texas was going to do that good. They're doing great right now, and I think they've earned themselves the third seed. The third seed, especially after beating Alabama, and it wasn't just like 1 point win like Alabama got last year. It was by 2 touchdowns, by 10, 11 points if I recall correctly. So they're 3-0, earned that third spot. They're 4-0 overall. And a lot of these now, I'm saying 1-0, 2-0. These are conference games that have just conference games are now officially starting for most teams. Some teams got it a little earlier, but right now they're already starting. They already have their first or second game. Number 4, Ohio State. Now we'll talk about Ohio State when we get to that. Right now, I'm just mentioning where they stand. But number 4, Ohio State. Number 5, Florida State. Number 6, Penn State. All these schools are 4-0. The top 10 are 4-0. So Penn State at number 6. Number 7, Washington, University of Washington. Like I mentioned, they're going to be undefeated. I think seven's just right for them right now because of Florida State and Penn State. But I think all 3 of those schools should be fine for that 4th. Originally, I did have Ohio State as the 4, saying they may end up there because of a lot of the committee. But I don't know this year. This year, it may be that I think, like I mentioned, Florida State, Penn State, Washington might be taking that 4th seed. Number 8, USC. Interesting. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be in the top 10. Just seeing that they went from 5 to 8, after the win, but we'll talk about that. 9, Oregon. We saw the game against Colorado, how they destroyed them 42-6. 10, Utah, 4-0 as well. Like I said, top 10 are 4-0. And they're undefeated in their conference. Most of them are 1-0, except for Florida State, they're 2-0, and Penn State are 2-0 as well. And USC, they're 2-0 as they beat Stanford and Arizona State in week 4. Number 11, Notre Dame, 4-1 overall, 0-0 in conference because they don't have a conference, but that's how they're going for their one loss, Ohio State, just this past week 4. Number 12, Alabama, 3-1 overall, 2-0 in their conference. LSU 3-1 overall, 2-0 in the conference. Oklahoma at 14, 4-0 with 1-0 in the conference. North Carolina at 15, 4-0, 1-0 in the conference. 16, Washington State, they moved up. They're 4-0 with 1-0 in the conference. Duke, number 17, 4-0 as well, 1-0 in conference. Miami, 4-0 overall, have not played a conference game yet. Oregon State at 19, they're 3-1 and 0-1 in the conference. Their loss was to Washington State right now in week 4. Ole Miss, 3-1 overall, 0-1 in the conference. They just lost in week 4 to Alabama. Number 21, Tennessee, 3-1 overall, 0-1 in the conference. They lost earlier. 22, Florida, 3-1 overall, 1-0 in the conference. Number 23, now this is where it's interesting. I think 23, 24, and 25 are very interesting that they're taking the last spots. Missouri, 4-0 overall. They're 0-0. They're 0. They have not played a conference game yet. Kansas, they're 4-0 as well, and they're 1-0 in the conference. And then Fresno State, 4-0 and have yet to play a conference game. So Fresno closing off the 25. spot. Now on the hunt, that I found that teams that either have the same record as a lot of these teams here in the top 25, or maybe even better, and some, like I said, some are pretty much the same. Number one on the hunt is Kansas State. I thought they were going to win the Big 12 conference. It's showing like it may be Texas. Now, looking at this, the way Texas has been playing out, it really may be Texas. But Kansas State, like I said, I think they're still going to end two. Originally had on one. I think they're going to end two. Looking at it, they're 3-1 overall with one in on the conference. TCU and the same conference in the Big 12. They're 3-1 overall with one in on the conference. Syracuse in the ACC. They're 4-0 overall, have not played a conference game yet, so there's that one. UCLA, now I talk about UCLA and what I really think about this, and they're standing. They're unranked this week for going to week 5. They're 3-0 overall and 0-1 in the conference. Their loss was to Utah. Colorado, same record. They're 3-1 overall with the 0-1 record. Their loss was to Oregon. Arizona, they're 3-1 overall with 1-0 in the conference, getting the win this week. Air Force, surprisingly, they're 4-0 overall with 2-0 in their conference with Tulane, where I thought Tulane was gonna, really just take over that whole conference. Tulane also has one conference win, but Air Force having two already, going 4-0. Texas A&M, again, a team that said it was just scrappy. They work hard. That's kind of how they are. That's really how they are, just scrappy workers. They're 3-1 overall with a 1-0 record in the conference, especially in the SEC. Now that's very important. Kentucky is 4-0 overall with 1-0 record. That's also very important, even being part of the ACC. It's very important to see it. Maryland, 4-0 overall, 1-0. Big Ten game. They're going to be playing Ohio State very soon. So see if they, continue that, being undefeated. Wisconsin, again, part of the Big Ten. They're 3-1 overall. They're 1-0 in the conference. Of course, all these conference games, it's still early, but it is very important. And non-conference games will also help out. Wisconsin is currently in the top for the Big Ten West. So seeing if they keep it, they're gonna go to the Big Ten championship game. Louisville is 4-0 overall with a 2-0 record in their conference, and then North Carolina State 3-1 overall with a 1-0. So these are just teams that I think, they are in the hunt for the top 25. Some of them I think they should have been in there. Kansas State, I definitely think they should have been at least in there, probably over Ole Miss. In the aspect, I think even TCU or even Syracuse be thought of. I don't know if I for sure would give them one, but I think Kansas State it's definitely one team that I would have put in the top 25 instead of Ole Miss or Tennessee. Same record, but Kansas State got the win. So now some topics that kind of went on based on week 4 and what really happened. One major topic that I noticed and I thought, I would like to give my opinion on and talk is Ohio State beating Notre Dame 17-14, essentially in the last 3 seconds of the game. Now, Notre Dame was winning pretty much the entirety of the game into the last minute and a half, I believe it was, where Ohio State, got the ball back and pushed it down to the end zone with 3 seconds left, where they got into the end zone and scored their touchdown to win the game. It was a 3-point win. They were down entirely the whole game. They were down. And because of this win, don't get me wrong, it is a big win, very big, important win that it would help any team, especially no matter who won, Notre Dame or Ohio State. Although I did have Ohio State winning this game originally, but seeing how they won the game didn't convince me too much. And it did not convince me that they should have been a top 4 team. They moved up because of that win. They went from the 6th seed to the 4th seed, pushing Florida State down to the 5th seed. Now, don't get me wrong, Florida State did get a win in overtime to Clemson. Clemson's a team that's not doing too good this season already, just off the bat in the first game. Right now, they're 2-2 overall. They have their first loss to the conference to Florida State. It did look like Florida State did struggle and having to go to OT to beat Clemson. The way it looked is, to me, both teams struggled. Florida State struggled to Clemson. Ohio State struggled to Notre Dame. Now, the Notre Dame, of course, is the ranked team, and they were, I mean, they are the ranked team. They were ninth last week, and going into it this week, they are 11, so only dropping 2 spots. And I think it's only right, and to be fair, that seeing both teams struggled, it shows that neither of them was better than the other. In my opinion, I think it should have stayed. If you wanted to switch it, switch USC and Ohio State, move Ohio State to the seed, and keep Florida State in that fourth seed just to prove it. And then this week coming up and seeing who they played, then we'll see. Okay, does Ohio State earn that fourth spot, or does Florida State earn to keep that fourth spot? Ohio State has the bye week this week, so they'll be playing next week on October 7th against Maryland again. Maryland's a team that's doing very well. They're undefeated as well, so it might be a little more of a challenge than Ohio State would have expected. Now, I do expect them to win that game, but again, still may be a challenge. Now, I think that win would, you know, say, okay, Ohio State should be in that fourth seed, and Florida State should drop down. Whether or not if Florida beats Virginia Tech, I have them beating Virginia Tech, but things go back and forth. So the fact that the committee did it now in this week, in which, like I said, both teams struggled. Yes, Ohio State beat a better team. Don't get me wrong, but it was still struggling. It came down to the last plays. It just shows to me a little bit of biasy, trying to find any little reason to get Ohio State into that top four. While Notre Dame was the first hard team that Ohio State has played so far in the first 4 weeks. Florida State already beat LSU right off the bat of the season. They beat LSU. That was one enough. That was big enough, and especially in how the rankings were set when uh, week one was coming. They beat Ohio State. The next one was Boston College, maybe a challenge for them. Was supposed to maybe be a challenge, and then Clemson. Now these are no joke teams. Of course, Clemson's not playing the best, like I said, but they're no joke teams. And I think that win with LSU alone should have kept Florida State in number 4 instead of Ohio State. I just don't think it was that much to put Ohio State in it. One, Florida State's in fifth. Like I said, I don't think so. Penn State being undefeated, just like Florida State. I think Penn State has been really great so far. Really great. They've gotten their wins to West Virginia, which also a team that's doing well in the conference. Delaware easy win, Illinois easy win, and Iowa, which was number 25 going into week 4. Strong win. I think Iowa's still gonna be a good team, so that's a very important win for Penn. And this week they play Northwestern, so it will be a fairly easy game. But I think Penn is also fighting for that fourth seed, and I think Penn will earn that fourth seed if Florida State happens to drop back. Penn will end their fourth seed when they play Ohio State in a couple weeks. Now, will they win it? I have Ohio State beating Penn State, but you never know. Penn State's doing great right now, like they always do in the beginning of the season. So it's seeing how they're going to be challenged against a really good team and how they're going to do it. They get that win, they secure themselves at least top 4, number 4 at least, in my opinion. Washington at 7, like I said, Washington's going to go, in my opinion, go undefeated in the Pac-12. I think they're going to win it all. So at 7, I think it shows well that they're moving up in the ranks. 8, USC. Now, some people may be like, why is USC 8? They won. Yes, they beat Arizona State. And watching that game, because I did watch the game, I was more surprised at Arizona State and how well they were playing rather than USC and how well USC was playing. Because in my opinion, the way everyone sees USC, USC is this great team, this amazing team in the Pac-12. They're going to win it all. One, they're all offense, like I mentioned, rarely any defense, right? And I'm not going to say Caleb Williams struggled in that game because he did not, but it wasn't the same Caleb Williams like we've seen playing these other teams. Now, we look back at it, USC, all they played so far, to be fair, they played San Jose State. They're, probably the best at non-conference. No, sorry, I take that back. They're not the best non-conference game to play. But all right, team. Nevada, I said probably one of the worst teams in college football right now. Stanford, very easy game, very easy. And then Arizona State, which Arizona State showed that one, they have a new team, everything going together, new coach. How are they putting this together? And I think they did very well, especially defensively, having to play against Caleb Williams. Offensively and defensively, they were able to just kind of keep up, get points going. Now they weren't leading USC, but they were keeping up with it. They're showing, look, we're not a team that it's just some easy team now. We're getting there. We I wouldn't say fairly good, but they're getting there. They're not easy to push over. Yeah, they got some losses, bad losses, but they're showing that look, we're getting our team together. So because of that, I think it pointing out more on USC and how one this the Arizona State offense was able to make plays, able to get these touchdowns, but their defense was able to stop Caleb Williams, or not just Caleb Williams, just stop the offense in general a couple times. Now, some of those times Arizona State didn't capitalize on it, and then USC did capitalize on the stops. Yes, I get that because USC is the much way better offensive team overall. But like I said, my point is taking that Arizona State show that they're a better team than what a lot of people think they are. And yes, they're supposed to be one of the bottom ones, and they are, but they're showing they're not the worst one. That they're getting themselves again. They will be a middle table team. It's kind of hard to tell in the Big 12 now with much better teams. But if the Pac 12 was to continue, they would have been a middle table team. So very interesting. Keep an eye on Arizona State. USC's next game coming into Week 5 is against Colorado. We see the big game. Both very high offensive teams. Very not very little. Sorry, not much of a defensive team on both sides. So it's going to be a high scoring game in my opinion. See, it's really going to come down to which defense gets the needed stops and which offense capitalizes on those defensive stops. So it's going to be a very big game. And it's going to be interesting to see. So because of that, is seeing how Arizona State was able to score 20 plus points on USC. USC drops to 8. I think it's fair. I think it's fair having USC there. I would have thought it would be unfair they came out of the top 10 because of how they've been playing. So I think 8 is very well. Put them above Oregon. I still understand Oregon doesn't seem like they really established themselves yet. So we're going to see that when they play each other. So and Utah as well. Just I think it's fine having USC here, and also they have the 2 wins in the Pac-12 already, being Stanford and Arizona State. That's also a reason why they're above Oregon and Utah. Oregon, Utah only played one game, and we're gonna get right into that one. But yeah, so I think UCLA is fine. Oregon destroying Colorado, they really prove not that Colorado are frauds, but a lot of people were just overhyping Colorado, and I believe it. I mentioned before, and that I've talked to my friends uh, when the news came out that Deion Sanders went to Colorado, and that to me they were only going to get four wins. They're 3/4 of the way there, but they got stopped in the tracks, and Deion said it's good that they lost now to see what they need to work on, and that will be the worst that they will ever be. We're gonna see if that's true, especially going into the Big 12 next year. They're going to need to be a lot better because again they got to win to TCU, which also didn't have the best defense. So Oregon destroyed them. Showed look, this Cinderella fairy tale is ending right here. We set the standard. This is how Oregon is. Now I think it's gonna be very interesting to see how Oregon takes care of business and how they're gonna continue showing their dominance into the Pac-12 and if they deserve or when they deserve the chance in being the college football and being in the Pac-12 championship game. Now looking Oregon's 4 game win streak. It's to Portland State. They destroyed 81-0. Against Texas Tech, that was arguably that was tougher for them, but they got it done. Hawaii, easy game. Colorado, they pulled it off, and now another easy game against Stanford. So Oregon's gonna go 5-0, and it's when week 6, the very next week, we're gonna find out how tough they're gonna be because that's when they play, and I think it's gonna be Oregon's first loss of the season against Washington. I think that's where we're going to see how Oregon works, see how Bo Nix is going to play, how this defense is going to work out against a team that's been flawless, at least so far. And with Michael Penix, the quarterback of Washington, being in the run for the Heisman Trophy, you're going to see what kind of defense Oregon has come up with. because we saw them against Colorado, just sacks on Shador Sanders and rushing him out of pocket, having to make him run or throw the ball out of bounds and all these other stuff. Utah 10, they moved up from 11 to 10, while Oregon went from 10 to 9. Utah beat UCLA by one touchdown. The score was 14-7. Now, this is what I thought was very interesting, and what I did not like, that UCLA got unranked. They got pushed down to the unranked. Now they're 3-1 overall with the one loss in conference. Okay, I'll say it right now. The 3 wins, the non-conference wins, they weren't hard teams. They were easy teams. Like, even in San Diego at the time, I thought San Diego was going to be the toughest, and I thought they were going to lose. Thought by this time of the season they were going to be 2-2 overall, and right now they're 3-1, positive record. But the teams weren't hard to face, and I don't like that Chip Kelly continues to schedule or ask to be scheduled against easy teams in the non-conference. I want this team to play harder teams, to know where they're at, to face the challenges, and not just feel good and think they're good because of these easy teams. I want them to know what it's like to have to struggle all day going into what this season was, the last Pac-12. And we saw it. Now we played a good ranked team and they lost. Now, I was just glad it wasn't a blowout. But at the same time, I was disappointed because it showed that they could have won. There was a play where in the first half where Dante Moore throws it to the receiver. I believe it was Stradivert, or I believe it was Ford. And instead of catching the ball like this, he tried to catch it like this. As it went past, he was all alone. He was on the 5 yard line, alone. No receiver close to him. He caught that. He was gonna walk in with a touchdown, and he drops it, and it leads to UCLA attempting a far field goal. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. They didn't even attempt the field goal. They went for it on the 4th down, and they didn't get it. This game was a lot of back and forths. Now, the defense did great. That's the one positive I could take from it. UCLA does not have a good secondary. I mentioned they have a bad secondary, and Utah did not take advantage of that. They didn't throw the ball as much. They did a couple times, but they didn't as much. They're running the ball more, and UCLA's defense is known for the run defense. That's specifically the front four, maybe five, how they play them. Keeping that run defense. Now you can't stop them all the time. Of course, they're going to get first downs and sets and stuff like that. But they were pretty much that's what was holding Utah, containing them, and UCLA getting the ball back. There was a lot of punts in this game, and the first touchdown, Utah's first touchdown, was a pick six, the very first play of the game. UCLA gets the ball. Dante Moore looks to pass it. He throws it literally into the hands of the middle linebacker, catches it, runs it in for the 6. And UCLA, the defense was able. UCLA offense got the ball back, didn't do anything. Defense was able to contain them, continue going back and forth, back and forth. UCLA had the chance of the touchdown, like the play I mentioned, and they do not score. They don't get a field goal, so it stays at 7. There's actually twice where they went for on 4th down instead of kicking field goal to at least get 3 points, chip at the lead. Utah got their first offensive touchdown in the second half. And, 14-0 is it was tough. It was looking very tough as a UCLA fan. Like, what are they going to do? How can they come back from this? Because this Utah defense was just containing them. Dante Moore was getting rushed. He didn't look frantic or flustered, but he was realizing that this is a good football team, good defense, and it's going to be hard. So he got a taste of that. He played all game. Coach Kelly, stuck with him, which is fine. And then finally, UCLA gets their one touchdown, and the game ends 14-7. And it made me realize that our defense is so good, but that the offense could not do anything to score. If they went for those field goals, 2, that would have been 13, and anything at the last minute of the game, a field goal would have won them the game. So it made me realize that they had the chance to win the game, but so did Utah as well. So both teams missing the opportunities and showing that although Utah didn't get the win, they could have scored a lot more. And as a UCLA fan, you realize that they could have got the win, but one terrible play calling. It was very terrible play calling, but also terrible playing on Dante Moore's half. on him. He did not play very great. Of course, this is the worst that we've seen of the season. He's a freshman still, but he still did play very bad. So it was those two factors that they need to really work on. He needs to work on seeing that the fact that they're going to see more defenses that are going to be not like Utah, but close to it. So need to be ready for that. But that's the thing. That was disappointing that UCLA got dropped out of the top 25. And even though they lost by one touchdown to Utah that got moved up one. Not I'm saying Utah should have been moved up like a lot. I think that one, the moving up by one was fine. But a team that was ranked 11th in the country, you lose by one touchdown, and that drops you out. I don't think that's fair. I don't understand the ranking of that. I really don't at all. If losing by 3 for Notre Dame to Ohio State, that was that was only 3 spots ahead of you, drops you 2 spots, that's fine. I think that was fine. Why didn't UCLA drop back to 24? Why did they have to drop all the way back this far? It doesn't make sense to me. And again, like I said, these biases, they find any reason to drop teams out. I mean, to point it out, Ole Miss loses by 14 to Alabama. That was their loss, the conference loss. And they went from the 15th seed to the 20th seed this week by 42 touchdowns. So where's the in between of this? So one touchdown gets you out of the top 25, but how far back does it take you? Because UCLA was 22. If Ole Miss lost by 14 and they drop back 5 spots, so you're telling me one touchdown will drop you 3 spots, UCLA should still be the 25th seed. Of course, that's not how this works. It's by the votes, by how everything going, and I'm telling you, it's a bias. That's my whole point. Is the bias. Ole Miss loses a 14. Oh, but because it was to Alabama, who was ranked below Utah, and losing by 2 touchdowns. But it was an SEC game, and all these other factors are gonna say they only get moved down 5 spots, but UCLA gets dropped out completely. So who knows? But that's something to point out. And speaking of that, Oklahoma moves up in the rankings. They went from 16 to 14 for this week, but they got a win that wasn't too great. They won 20-6 to Cincinnati, but they weren't very dominant. Cincinnati also was not playing good at all. They weren't dominant, and to me, Oklahoma has not played a hard game. Aside from Cincinnati, their other hard one was SMU. I don't think Oklahoma deserves that 14th spot, even though they're undefeated. I don't think they deserve that 14th spot because they haven't proven it yet. Wait until they play a hard team and watch. They're not even going to drop a lot. The committee's not even going to drop them that much. Maybe 4 spots if they lose to an actual team, and they're still not going to do anything. But that's my point. A lot of these teams that are on here, it seems very unfair. Oregon State loses to Washington State. I believe it was by 3. Oregon State drops to 19. Fine. Washington State moved from 20, or they were 19 or 20, and they moved up to 16. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. But it's all these other rankings that make no sense. Kansas State going out because their one loss was to Missouri by 3, by a field goal. It wasn't like crazy loss where if they lost by a lot, I had to understand. It was by 3, by a field goal. It makes no sense to me. And that's the thing. That's what I don't like about it. A team that made it, number 24, Kansas, they beat Missouri State, they beat Illinois, they beat Nevada, they beat BYU. None of these teams were even seen as dominant teams or even seen as very good teams. And yet, because it's 4-0, Missouri gets that 23rd seed. But teams like Ole Miss, 3-1, that's 0-1 in their conference, they're still number 20. Tennessee as well, 3-1, 0-1 in their conference, still in there. Florida's 3-1, but they're 1-0 in their conference. So okay, you could argue that. Those 2 teams are in there, and it's like, but they lost. And in Kansas, yes, Kansas has that 1-0 win in the rankings, but it's no one hard. It's no one hard in that rankings to get them. Missouri the same. Missouri at number 23, they're 4-0, but they haven't played a conference game yet. They beat South Dakota, they beat Middle Tennessee, they beat Kansas State. That's the one I told you. So I understand if that's the reason you're putting them in there. Okay, a 3-point win over Kansas State that's said to be really good. I understand that. But then that should be applied to the Utah UCLA game. You lost by 1 touchdown to a really hard team that was literally on the cusp of being top 10 and that are now top 10, and that drops you out completely. Doesn't make sense. And then the 14 Missouri beat was Memphis, and they get the 23rd spot. And now looking at Fresno State has the 25th being 4-0. Okay, they beat Purdue, great win. I think that was a very great win for them. Eastern Washington, and they were better before. Beat Arizona State, they destroyed Arizona State. Arizona State couldn't even score one touchdown, so I guess that would be a reason to put them in. But again, Arizona State's not a great team. Yes, they're showing that they're going to be a presence, but they're not a great team. And then the fourth one is against Kent State, in which Fresno State's fifth game coming this week is against Nevada. Again, a team that's not good at all. So I don't understand how they're in there, because clearly it's not even being undefeated gets you in there. With Ole Miss and Tennessee showing that, with Florida showing that, Alabama and LSU showing that of the overall conference. So then what is the reason for these teams being in there and we're playing easy teams? Now, like I said, UCLA did play easy teams at the beginning, so sure. But you already had them in the rankings. Now, if you applied that in the beginning, I would understand if they were unranked because of these easy ones. Okay, if that's the reason, I understand. But you had them in there anyways. And then you show them playing a really hard team, which I understand. I didn't expect UCLA to win at all. But the defense was still able to keep them in. They were still able to only lose by one touchdown. Now, that's not okay. I'm not saying that, but it's only one touchdown. And yet these other teams are giving leeway. It's not cool at all. I think it's very unfair. Now we're gonna see if Colorado can find itself back into the top 25 this week if they able to beat USC. And keep an eye on that. How far are they gonna drop USC if they lose to Colorado? Are they gonna move them to 10 or just to 9? Or are they gonna drop them to the top 15? I don't think they're gonna do them into the 20s outside of 15s. No. But if the possibility happens, and then Colorado's going to find themselves back in the top 25, I believe Kansas State should find themselves back in the top 25. UCLA has a bye week this week. Their next game is Washington State, who we'll see where they're standing going into week 6. But for now, they're number 16. So that should be a big help of if UCLA is able to get that win. That's just my topics for today, is that it seems very unfair in a lot of these rankings. And I told you this before. It's a lot of hype and biasy in the committee and the voting of what team should go where. Now, I'm okay with Duke being at 17, Miami at 18. Sure, they need to still show, prove it. But Duke is doing very well. North Carolina as well, being in there. No issue about it. I think the top 10 is actually very well put. The order, like I said, Ohio State and Florida State should switch. But I think the order is perfectly fine right now. I don't like how these rankings are done for these other teams. And teams like UCLA that's out of it, TCU that's out of it, even though I didn't think TCU deserved to be in it, but they've shown that, at least right now they should be. Wisconsin as well, and Kansas State. Teams that they could argue to be in it. Kansas State for sure, like I said, should be in it, but all the other ones should argue. Syracuse is 4-0. They haven't played a conference game, but they're still 4-0. Now, if that's your reason, Missouri being in there because they beat Kansas State, what about Syracuse? So it's these games. But now looking on to week 5, just the top 25 games that we're going to see for week 5. Number 10, Utah is hosting number 19, Oregon State. So we're going to see how far back, if Oregon State wins, how far back Utah is going to drop out of the top 10. Or, they're still going to be top 25, but how far back? Oregon State, if they lose, is it going to drop them out of the top of the top 25? Are they going to be unranked like UCLA got unranked? Or is it going to say no because they're number 19 instead of number 22? And they're going to say how they played and how they lost. It's going to be all these excuses, but it's going to be a very great game. Oregon State is hosting Utah on this one. It's going to be on Friday at 6 p.m. Number 6, Penn State plays a fairly easy game away at Northwestern. This should be a good, easy game for them. Number 8, USC is at Colorado. Again, Colorado's unranked, trying to see if they could get a win here. Very high-scoring game, in my opinion, that should be. USC trying to continue their undefeated streak. They destroyed Colorado last season, but it was a different Colorado team. So let's see how they do this year. USC coming back after the win against Arizona State. Number 22, Florida State is traveling to Kentucky to face Kentucky in Lexington. Florida State, number 22, being ranked. See this conference game. See how they're gonna do. So the other top 25 teams. Number one, Georgia's playing Auburn, their first actual top five team, top five conference team. It's a SEC matchup. Very important game. They're going to the state of Alabama to play Auburn on this one. So you see how Georgia, continues. Like I said, they're going to be undefeated in my books. We'll see. Michigan also playing a Big Ten game against Nebraska. Michigan also playing a Big Ten game against Nebraska. They're the number two. They're going to Nebraska. Games at 12:30. They're going to play it in Lincoln, and see how they do. I think Michigan's going to win it again. Like I said, they're going to go undefeated. So should we just add it to their thing, to their mark? Big game. This one is a big top 25 game. Kansas, number 24, Kansas at number 3, Texas on ABC in Austin, Texas. I think Texas is going to win this game. Like I said, Kansas is a basketball school, not really a football school. I don't think they should be in the top 25. Texas win should push Kansas out of the top 25. I don't see any reason why Kansas should stay in the top 25 when Texas wins this game. So hopefully Texas just gets the job done, dominate. They're gonna keep the 3rd seed. Maybe if this win might even put them to the 2nd seed. We'll see. I don't think it really should. I think it should just secure them the 3rd spot. Moving on, we got number 23, Missouri at Vanderbilt. Should be a win for them. Vanderbilt's just having a very tough season. So Missouri's flying over to Tennessee, to Nashville for the game. See how that one goes. Missouri shows that, again, another easy team, but if they show they should stay in the top 25. Another top 25 ranked team, number 13 LSU is going to Mississippi to play Ole Miss, number 20. LSU should get this win. I have them winning it. They're away, yes, but I think they're gonna regroup again. Once again, I think that's the whole thing, just getting everyone on the same plan here for Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels. Pushing that team, getting a win on the road. So it's number 20 again. This LSU game, if they win it, Ole Miss should be seeing themselves possibly getting out of the top 25. It should, but the committee might make some excuses for it. Number 9, Oregon's coming down to Northern California. They're coming down one state in Stanford to play Stanford. Stanford unranked. They were never ranked, and then they lost to USC and then these games. But Oregon's going over to get the job done. Another win, trying to go undefeated again and just continue. I don't think this would be big enough to move up in the rankings. I think they should keep them at 9 just because of Stanford not being a very strong team. Well, Iowa State is going to Norman, Oklahoma to face Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma is number 14 in the country. They're hosting. They're hoping their win against Iowa State will boost them up in the rankings. I don't think it should. I think it should keep them at 14. But the loss should definitely hurt them, dropping them, I'm guessing, at least to 19 if Oklahoma is to lose to Iowa State. Continuing on, number 11, Notre Dame is at number 17, Duke. Big noon game is going over there. Seen another Notre Dame game on the big noon. I don't know why they get 2, but that's how it's going. It's more for Duke since they're going. It's the first time they're going to Durham, North Carolina. It's the first time Duke is hosting it. So let's see how Duke does. I think it'll be a great win for Duke. It's going to move up a lot getting this. Notre Dame's going to drop a couple more again, but I think Notre Dame should get this win because Duke unexpectedly, found himself in the top 25. Next one, South Carolina Gamecocks are going to Knoxville, Tennessee to go against University of Tennessee, number 21 ranked. They're looking to host, trying to move up in the ranking, especially after going 0-1 in the conference. They're trying to get a bounce back win here. Continuing on, number 12, Alabama is also going to the state of Mississippi. They're going to Starksville to play Mississippi State. A team Alabama should win, but don't look past them. I thought they were going to do very well this season, so hopefully, Mississippi State gives Alabama a run for the money. Alabama struggling, especially with their quarterback situation. They do not know who to start. Even trusting Milroe to start, it's still struggling. So it's very interesting to see how this is going to go on. I think Alabama should get the win, but it's going to be a scrappy win that they're going to work hard for. Number 7, Washington going to Tucson, Arizona to play the University of Arizona Bearcats. Arizona got a first conference win. Arizona got their first Pac-12 win of the season against Stanford, winning by 1.21-20. Very close, but they slipped away with it. So Washington's coming to Arizona, see how Arizona's going to be able to handle this Washington team. Washington looking to continue their undefeated run. And then number 25, Fresno State is hosting Nevada. Like I said, very easy team in Central California, in Fresno. So Fresno just looking to continue being undefeated. And that is all for week 5. Coming into week 5, we're going to see next week, do another episode, see the AP polls, see very interesting topics in the games for week 6 and how that's going to go on. So thank you guys once again. This is Sideline Thoughts. I'm Gio Galvez. See you next time.